Hey guys, it's Kelsey, and this is the final layout from last month's How to Kill a Kit with Style. So this is layout 9. I didn't have a chance to get to the process video before I posted the layout share because I literally had made this page right before I had to film that. So here it is. As you can see, I am starting with just a blank scrap piece of white paper. It's just the cheap filler paper that comes preloaded in the page protectors, so I like using these as my bases when I'm going to be piecing together another layout or another 12 by 12 on top of it. So you can see kind of what I have to work with. I only have scraps, so I'm just trying to use the largest scraps I have from these previous pages last month to piece together a 12 by 12 somehow. So I started out with 2 of these plaid papers. The backside is at strawberry, so I used both of those as a 12 by 12 background and then had gutted the pieces that were behind the photos. So those are the 2 pieces I salvaged from those background papers, and now I'm trying to piece them together in a way to make this look like this was supposed to be a full 12 by 12 before I started. So it's a little tricky because there are some gaps here and there. I am pulling in that constellation paper from the Creekside collection. That's a scrap from the layout before this one with the How to Kill a Kit with Style 1 Canoe 2. So yeah, this is what I'm starting with. I have 2 photos I know are going to span across the page. It's just, this ended up being real tricky because I have these weird gaps that I just know I have to figure out a way to cover up. The edges are also rough from this constellation paper where I had torn the pages from before. I thought about cutting them, make it a clean cut, but I thought it might kind of be cool to keep that texture. And I'm just using a branding strip here to cut a border punch so that can be a decorative edge along the side of the constellation. I just wanted one little decorative piece to try and tie it into the plaid paper. So yeah, you can see what I'm working with here. I just basically this whole page, if you watched my layout share, you kind of know the drill. I talked about this page when I shared it with the rest of the layouts. It was just a jigsaw game. It was trying to figure out a way to cover these gaps and make it look like I wasn't just trying to cover gaps. So I started out with making my own tag from one of the scrap pieces of paper, and then that's going to be tucked into the upper left-hand corner to cover up that big gap. So that covers it up fine, but then I feel like I kind of need to make that an embellishment cluster, so I'll work on that a little bit later. But I just knew tucking a tag in there would cover up that gap, and at least I wouldn't have a bald spot in the page. So that's kind of what I'm working on. I only have this one branding strip of this pattern, so I'm not gluing it down or cutting it yet because I just know I need to make that one piece border every single part of this constellation pattern, and there's not enough of it. So depending on how high or low I glue the photos, I will then cut the branding strip and piece it together along the other parts of the constellation paper. So you'll see that in a minute. I toy at first with laying the branding strip on top of the constellation to cover up that torn edge from the previous layout, but I end up tucking it behind it, and I kind of like the way that distressed area looks. It's really subtle. It's not like I took a distressing tour and really tore it up. It's just, you can tell I tore the paper instead of cut it. So yeah, kind of got that part covered up. I know I need to do more, but now I'm just working on the other bald spot. My priority first is to cover up all these empty spots in the background, and then I can work on figuring out how to make the entire page look good. So I do have this large pair that cover up that piece, and I just decided I would tuck another little tag down there. So I just used the same pattern, made another little tag. I thought it might be cool to kind of have that same pattern tag in a few areas just to bring that yellow into different spots so it's not just up there in that corner and nowhere else. And then there was just a little bit of gappage where you could see that background. So I did just tuck a doily behind all of it just to kind of cover up anything else that might be peeking through. So got that part glued down. I think I'm actually about to glue down the branding strip now that I know how much I can cut. And then the piece that you saw me just snip, I will use to border the rest of the constellation paper below the photo. So you'll see that in a minute, but I'm going to go ahead and glue this down. I'm trying to just piece this together as I go. It was really tricky, but it turned out okay. So it was satisfying trying to create an entire background that looked like a full 12 by 12 that wasn't, but it was a challenge. So I enjoyed it. It was just tricky. But I'm going to go ahead and get this part glued down. You can see how much of that background is showing behind the photo, but it won't matter because it's going to be covered up. So I'm going to get that glued down, and then I'm going to glue down this little cluster. I want my title to be over the constellation portion to the left of that pear, but because of the way I had to cover this gap, it's leaning more towards the right half of the page, so I end up building my title out that way just because even though I thought the title would look better over the constellation, I felt in the end it made more sense having the title branching off to the right spatially, so I'll start working on that in a minute. But you can see where I took the little piece I salvaged from the branding strip, and I'm just going to use that to border either side of the diagonal strip. And then I'm just going in with this chipboard title from the thicker sheet. It just says Better Together. I really thought the gold looked nice. I like that it was a big title. I wanted to get a larger title off of these thicker sheets since this is the last layout from this month. So yeah, I decided to do Better Together, which if you watch the layout share, I kind of already explained what these photos were. It's the banyan tree that's in Lahaina Square in Maui. So I'll go into that in a little bit, but I knew I wanted to use this title, but I didn't know how to tie it in with the content of the page. And so I had mentioned in my layout share, if you watched it, these banyan trees are really, really cool. The roots grow down from the branches and form new trunks. So this one tree has 16 main trunks, and it is just insane. It spans over half an acre, and it's just like, it is just really, really cool. So I wanted to make sure that I documented this. We hung out under this tree while we were waiting for our boat to get ready for us to go do our whole whale watching thing. So we were just hanging out under this tree until then, because right to the left of this tree is the docks where the boats were. So really cool. I wanted to make sure to get it down, but I kind of felt like, hey, if I want to use this Better Together and there's 16 trunks, I can make it work. So the whole title you'll end up seeing reads 16 Trunks Better Together. I thought that made sense. So that's what I'm going with. You just saw me tuck in. I did another little tag behind the doily just to kind of fill it out a little bit. I felt like there was still a little hole peeking in from behind the doily. You could still see, because the doily, even though it's white, it's slightly transparent. You can kind of see the pattern paper behind it, and you could still see. Probably no one else would notice, but because I knew that gap was behind the doily, I could see it and it was bothering me. So I tucked that navy tag behind the doily to cover up any remnants of a gap, and then just to be sure, I took a scrap of that scenic paper with the clouds and did a little scallop circle punch and tucked that behind the pear too. Just add another little layery detail. But yeah, I just wanted to fill it out a little more. But there's the title. Now I feel like I need to fill out the cluster on the upper left hand a little bit. I liked these little banners with the sunglasses. I thought they were cute. And then I really wanted to use this pear puffy sticker since I am using this pear die cut. So I think at first I might put it up there with the sunglasses. It's looking a little awkward right now just because the pear is the same size pretty much as the sunglasses on the banner, and the proportion looks weird to me for whatever reason. So I'll leave it there for a moment. You saw me go back to the thicker sheet and pull in all of the plus signs that were left on it. So I'm kind of using those as embellishment. I clustered a few by the title, a few up there. So now I'm just looking at it, trying to figure out, it needs help, it needs something. So I do go in with some gold foiled washi. I have this arrow washi, and I'm just going to throw that below the photos. I thought the photos needed something to sit on, so it just wasn't floating there down on the bottom of the page. And then I figured it looked kind of awkward having the big title cluster and the little cluster on the top and then nothing on the bottom of the photos. Even though there's not a whole lot of room, I really felt compelled to make another little cluster down there. So I'll work on that in a minute. I did take that scallop border punch and punch another piece of that cloud print just to pull that up there too, because then I realized once I did that next to the title, that was kind of random, and the cloud scalloped circle doesn't really make sense. So I thought maybe if I put that into some other areas, it would go. So I did tuck it up there. I think that helps fill it out a little bit, kind of bridges the gap between the sunglass banner and that tag. So yeah, that's looking a little better to me. I'm desperately going through scraps and ephemera to try and figure out how to make this work. It ends up okay. it just threw me through a loop because I was so determined to do something with all of these bigger scraps that it just kind of happened, and I was stuck trying to fill in these weird gaps. So yeah, but I did want something down in the bottom left-hand corner, so I did take one of the cut aparts and just made another little tag to go down there. It just says, "What a wonderful day." I've never seen this one before, which I thought was cute. I really picked it because the colors went, so it has that navy, it has the green script and some clouds in it, so I thought that kind of tied in a little more. But then again, I just feel like I need to pull in some of the other patterns that are in the other clusters so it feels like it belongs. So I did take another scrap of this yellow that I made the other two tags out of and did a little border punch to tuck behind that tag so it kind of has something to sit on. I think that helps, but it still needed a little more. So I'm going to get that tucked in. And then I do end up going, I think I just find a branding strip or a scrap of that cloud paper that I did the scallop border punch, the scallop circle punch in the other two clusters, and I just make a banner out of it to tuck behind that tag, just so I have that pattern down there too. But I did decide to move the pear puffy sticker down to that tag. It just looked a lot nicer because the tag is bigger, so it makes the pear look cute and tiny, whereas the pear looked giant compared to those sunglasses at the top. So moving that down helped, and then I do kind of move around these plus signs a little bit. Right now I have a plus sign up by the sunglasses and 2 over by the title, and I was really wishing there was some more chipboard plus signs on the thicker sheet, but then I realized I was being silly because I have my hashtag sticker book. There's a whole row of gold foiled plus signs. So what I end up doing, which you'll see in a minute, is I put one of the chipboard plus signs in each area. So I take one of them away from the title and put it down on my bottom tag. And then I go in and do a gold foiled sticker from the sticker book to pair with each of those. So each area has 2 plus signs, 1 chipboard, 1 flat sticker, but that made it look a little bit more balanced to me. So, but yeah, just finishing that bottom cluster down there, I did thread all of these tags with some golden white twine, and then here I'm going into my hashtag sticker book to find those plus signs. So I love the One Canoe 2 sticker book. Is just my favorite. You guys know this. They're the only sticker books I ever need, and they're just so cute, and I love the different scale of stuff you get, but also just the little things you can tuck as embellishments and use like enamel dots and scatter around the page. So I really, really enjoy that. So this is the final layout. Turned out okay, not my favorite out of last month, but I was working with scraps and I just did what I could. So hopefully you guys enjoyed seeing this one. I really wanted to show you guys how this pieced together, because I think when you saw the overall you couldn't really get how many pieces went into making this a whole page. But thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.